Ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday, and I am thirsty for the
Yeah.
juice, thirsty for the
No.
information, thirsty for Anthony Schlegel to be back on the podcast daily. I'm Austin Ward. That is Schlegs. Hey,
Yes.
we're off and going, buddy. It's great to see you.
It's great. It's great to be seen. Big time week. Super excited to be talking with you.
All right, Schlegs, you are a fashion icon, and nobody
Yeah,
disputes it.
No
What do you make of these? What do you make of these throwbacks and the grays that the Buckeyes are going to wear on Saturday night in prime time against Michigan State?
Well, let's talk about it because I really don't know. So they're a throwback to what? I thought it was an inverse on the color. Like we all crave the gray on the sleeves. So it's like we're just going to create gray uniforms. Is that it? Like, what's the throwback to? Did they actually wear gray at some point?
Maybe I just consider every alternate jersey to be a throwback, and I don't. And I don't know anything about fashion. I don't know. I think they. I'm not as mad about these. I've kind of disliked some of the blacks in the last couple of years. Like the all black uniforms, I don't know that they're bringing out the true color rush for the Buckeyes. So I don't know. These grays might do it for me. I don't know.
So I mean, when you think of color rush, you would think of scarlet, right? Because scarlet and gray. I don't know the percentages based on that. So, but you do have the silver helmets, and it's funny that's silver. It's not gray, right? It's silver. I did not necessarily like the wolf themed one, but that was a great comeback win versus Penn State at night. So I do like those, but I don't. The black, listen, it's not about what you like, it's about what the players like. Okay. So
Right.
that it's not about what the fans like. Now I will say this, my favorite uni of Ohio State's is hands down our road uni. It's the best. The white jersey with the gray in the sleeves, the gray pants, the silver bullet helmet. Freaking, especially toward the end of the year when you got the Buckeye leaves all over that thing from the dudes that have been playing their absolute ass off. That is awesome. I will say this, looking at, I think they had Marvin Harrison Jr. in the uni with the red shoes. I kind of dug it. I thought it was nice. It is what it is, and you have to kind of do it, and it keeps things fresh. And, so I like the way they look.
I think Marvin might look good in any jersey, right?
He can look good in whatever, man. When we did the true throwbacks of like when we played Michigan and we had the white helmets, and then there was the one year where we had like the all red helmet. Those were kind of cool because they were a throwback. I don't necessarily like, particularly in that game, any of the special unis. I like it where it's just like, Buckeyes, Wolverines, Ohio State, Michigan, like the true colors of what they are. Mm-hmm. But in this type of game, at night versus Michigan State, I don't mind it, and I think they look nice. I mean, this is how I am, but I'm super simple, guys. Like, I like a white truck or a silver truck because they don't show scratches, and they really don't get super dirty. But the black ones, and the darker colors, they look dirty, and my trucks are dirty. So I would. I'd rather, they have scratches. So I'd rather go to the white and the gray, the silver, because of that. So I'm very basic. Like, you're not going to see me driving around. Now the cement color is a little bit different. That's my Tacoma back in Florida. I kind of dig that one, but I'm very simple. So when it comes to unis, I like simplicity.
Schlegs, when you were a player, were you much into the look good, feel good, play good mentality, or did you care at all what you were putting on?
Guys, man, listen, I mean, I got jeans on. I got some Rocky boots. I've been hanging out with my dudes from West Side and Tom, Barry, and Mac. And like, I wear this all the time. Like, no, I don't care. I did not like getting dressed up. Like, why can't I just wear cowboy boots and some Wranglers back then? I don't like, to me, it's not. To me, it's about the preparation, because then you got to pack that stuff, and I'm packing it, or I have to buy stuff for like one game. And when I was in college, I had one suit, and it was just kind of like, I don't know. It was kind of like this creamy gold looking suit that my mom thought looked good on me. And so I'm like, sure. And I wore it every week with the same shirt. I had a cowboy up belt buckle that my wife got me a long time before that. And it's just like, I mean, I wore the same thing, the same cowboy. I wore it every single week. But why? Like, that's what a team does. I actually kind of prefer the travel sweats or whatever. Mm-hmm. But, to me, like, look good, feel good, play good. I look good and I feel good because I took care of my body during the week. And I prepared for the game, and I'm mentally locked in to what we got to do. And so that gives me the confidence, right? I mean, like, oh yeah, well, I look good, feel good, play good. Well, it's really about what you did during the week that allows you to look good, feel good, play good. You know what I'm saying? Like me rocking up in some kind of extravagant ensemble that I put together that I'm going to wear one time is terrible. Now, I will say this as well. Now we're getting off the rails. I just side nugget into my world and my thought process. I have no article of clothing that I can't deadlift in. So even my suit jackets, my slacks, they all have a little bit of the stretch in them because you never know when you gas station ready. Will I wear it to a Waffle House? Yes, because they allow everything in there. And what happens if somebody threw down a bar in the middle of the hotel and you had or a conference, right? And they're like, get bumpy. And I'm like, okay, I got you. And then you just rep out 500 for a bunch, like what? Why not? That kind of goes into my thought process. Even my shoes, like even the nice, dress shoes that you have, are they comfortable and can I squat in them? That's kind of how my thought process goes.
Well, if you stay ready,
my entire wardrobe.
Stay ready. You don't have to get ready. That's
a Tim Walton. Tim Walton says it all the time.
There you go. So the Buckeyes, and you mentioned those road sweats, Schlegs, they get to put those away after back-to-back road trips. And I felt like on Saturday, you could see some of the wear and tear showing up for the Buckeyes. You had mentioned that on the podcast daily last week, like the injuries and this time of year, making sure that your body's right. How much do you think Ohio State could or would be willing to scale back on the reps on Saturday night against Michigan State, or maybe even next week against Minnesota to get ready for the last week of the regular season?
So based off your question, here's the thing. What's the risk reward and where am I? Now, I will say this about, and I want to tip of the hat to the coaching staff. I'm going to say it like holistically, everybody, you've now created depth at especially we've seen in the secondary position where and again, let's not kid ourselves. In this last game when we played Rutgers, again, you got the over and you got the spread. So, all right, great job, everybody that's out there. That's kind of views that's how what you have to do. But in this game, Cade was out, Ransom was out, Burke was out, Proctor ended up going out. You had guys that have stepped in the past. They stepped in and they're playing really fast. And in this game, we saw Tommy leave, which I thought this was probably one of Tommy's most physical games. And besides the back-to-back on the road, it's really been 3 physical running teams back-to-back when Penn State, Wisconsin, and Rutgers, because that's what they do. And in those type of games, again, football is a collision sport. You're going to have things that break. And, this is not something that necessarily is on sports performance or trainers or anything like that people kind of misconstrued as it is. Like when bones and things break like that, there is nothing that you can do. If this was, hey, soft tissue or something like that, and it's in the masses, right? We have a lot of guys going out for something like that. Then those are some things that you can evaluate, and you can evaluate it from the strength conditioning, from the recovery, from the total volume of practice. There's a lot of different variables that you can look at. But in terms of this, we've seen that we've been able to win games and win them. I mean, we won this game by being outgained by Rutgers. Now, part of that was time of possession. Part of that was they had 81 plays versus our 61 plays. Which those 3 and outs allow that to happen, though we were 50% on third down and they were 31% on third down. These things happen. So what you have to do is, do I trust my players to respond when called upon? And that was something that Urban was big about. I'm super big about it. Listen, I tell I tell my parents, and again, you guys got to remember, I'm the associate assistant quality control O-line, D-line, linebacker coach for junior high football in St. Johns County, okay, for Freedom Crossing Academy. Now, that being said, parents always want their kids to play. Let me tell you something. Development has not happened in the game. Development has happened at practice. So, parents, if your kid comes without a mouthpiece, he can't practice. If he comes without pads, he can't practice. That's when development happens. Getting in the game is it's an opportunity for you to go to show your development, though it's not predicated upon you developing. So when you look at that, I'm like, I'm going to develop every single kid on this field. And when you're in college, it is your responsibility to develop every single kid. And that's where I don't give really 2 craps about the portal. To me, it's a tap on the back. Like if I have a kid, he necessarily can't play here. And I told his parents that I'm going to treat him just like I would treat my own kid. I'm going to develop the crap out of him, and he transfers somewhere else and plays great. hey, great job, man. You took coaching here. You made a decision for your future, and you did it, and now you're doing well. That's awesome. Like that's what you should do. So, coaches, I believe at Ohio State hasn't necessarily been focusing on the guys that start. They've been focusing on the depth, and you're seeing that when they get in and they get an opportunity. Matthews Jr. played really well. Who's the guy that came in for Hancock at the end over there?
Malik Hartford for Proctor.
Yeah, Hartford came in. Styles, dude. I mean, Styles was playing very, very physical. And again, part of that too is I told you guys, man, earlier in the year, we were talking about run fits and being and declaring and playing really fast. You are seeing that now. Like guys know where they got to go. Like you saw it with Tommy in a particular play. He came in, shocked and shed a dude, but he threw his dude into his responsibility, came off and made the play. And Styles was right there next to him. I mean, it was like, bam. Well, that only happens if you know exactly what you got to do. And that's part of the development. It's part of coaching. It's part of just time throughout the season. And so, let's go back. So to your question, in these games, will you see some more? Yeah, you'll see some executive decisions. You have a guy in Trevion Henderson who we know structurally, foot, ankle. And these are things that you look as well into in the offseason, like what can we do for him physiologically? But right now, the dude is a difference maker. And we had all the talk at the beginning of the year where who's RB1 and all this stuff. Like that dude is RB1. Mm-hmm. You average 155 yards a game when he's in there. You average 97 when he's not. He's had 2 games where he's had over 200 yards of production. He has 3 games that he's rushed for over 100 yards. The thing that I love is as we've grown in this, and I know I'm now off the question, but it goes into it. The benefit has been how we're utilizing them. It's not just he's in the gun and he's next to him. We've moved him to where he's behind the quarterback because why? It allows him to have better vision so that he can make the cutback when he wants to. So that helps the offensive line, right? But also if it's not there, he just goes and gets 3 or 4 and makes somebody miss. We had the 2-back set. We're also in that game. They weren't bracketing Marvin. They were just playing zone. They're like, you're not going to beat us deep. So we're going to keep everything in front of us. And the checkdowns were there for him. And that's part of the game. So, and even Kyle's beginning of the game, he was 11 for 11. There weren't a lot of deep shots because they weren't a lot of deep shots there. The one that we have that was deeper on the over, he just didn't get enough air on the ball, that's on him. You got to get some air on that. But still, the reason I say that is it goes back to you got to get what you got to get in the game, meaning I got to get the continuity on the offensive line. I got to make sure my guys are getting significant reps. And then once that point comes where they don't need it anymore, then I start to pull them because of what's down the road in Minnesota and Michigan, right? Like that's how you're thinking about it right now. But you got to go win the game. You got to go do what you got to do to put yourself in that position to where you can start making executive decisions that he's out of the game. Or in this, hey, he's going to play the first quarter and we want to see how it feels and then he's going to be out. Or do we even want to put him in that situation? Like Kay didn't necessarily need to be in the situation last week. That's what they thought. So, G. Scott had a great over the shoulder, but he also had a drop. There's some things in blocking, but those are things that you can correct. And if you're like, man, we can correct those versus Michigan State and we're going to hold Kate out for another one. Why not? I mean, at the end of the year, it's a battle of attrition. So the biggest game's coming up, but you can't overlook the task at hand, which is beating Michigan State, but you also have to make executive decisions for what's going to matter the most. And that is the Michigan game. And then it will be the Big Ten championship game. Then it will be right. Cause in that one, you're probably going to be facing an Iowa team. So, that might be guys where like, what, defensively, man, we could probably pull a couple of these guys out because they're not like that great offensively, but defense they are. So we might need some things in that game to set us up for the college football playoff. And then we get, probably 2 to 3 weeks rest to get everybody back. So that might be that, like, again, it's just management of all your moving pieces. So I know it's a long answer, but all of that goes into it. Simultaneously, all that goes into training. Like, what do these guys need? Where are they? They're looking at the loads of the games prior to, they're looking at their injuries. What is it that they actually need? How much of it do they actually need in practice? Because you want the freshest team out there. Because again, it's always about max capacity on game day. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. But you still got to get certain things during the week. Like I personally had to have a physical Tuesday practice in college. Like I needed that. I needed full speed to see where the fits are. And then as you start to taper off, I've got it. Once it's like in practice, fool me once, shame on me. Like I got it. Like, I figured it out. I felt it. I see where it's going to be. I'm watching it on film. And even though I might've got a look, I'm like, nope, like I really feel it's going to be there. And then that's where the first 2 drives of the game allow me to get locked back into what I've watched on tape. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because the look team might not have given me the best look, and though I fit it and I hit it and they're like, oh yeah, it's done. The game might've been tweaked just a little bit. So you still always got to, you got to trust your preparation, but you also got to trust your eyes in that game. And so I think the coaches having the great relationships with their players, this is the part of the year where you have to make it an executive decision for what's best for the player and also what's best for the team. And though like an AJ Hawk would never want to come out, sometimes you got to take their freaking helmet. And I would say it's very similar to a Tommy Eichenberg. It's like, hey, what do we got to do? Tommy, give me your freaking helmet. Like, you don't need this. Like, go. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's where Mick and Sean and the coaching staff, and along with Ryan, I think they have a really good grasp because they have really good communication. And everything involving sports and performance is always about communication. So, that's kind of my stand on it. And you know what? I can't wait to watch some guys get opportunities, man. Cody Simon's done a really nice job at linebacker stepping in. The defensive line has done a good job of being able to rotate guys. The secondary has been outstanding as far as young guys being able to step up. Tate had some good catches in that game. He's playing well. So,
So beyond the injury part, then Schlegs, you're on the field. You have two games left, and I'm not trying to fast forward, although many of us in our minds are like, let's get to the last week of the regular season. But the coaching staff has 2 opportunities to get ready for the biggest one on the schedule. How much of that will you think be in their mind, and what are things that you think Ohio State might need to get out of these 2 opportunities before going up to Ann Arbor?
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with the second question first. What do they have to do? Well, we knew coming into Rutgers game that Ryan emphasis was on ball security, turning the ball over. And I want to say that for this, we got outgained, I think 360 to 328. All right, in that game, and you still won by 19. We're seeing an Ohio State team that is winning in ways that we weren't able to do that. The reason being is our defense. Our defense plays every freaking down. I mean, I when it comes to like being a former Buckeye and linebacker, like I am super proud of our defense. I think that Knowles has done a really nice job adapting to Big Ten play and Ryan and offensively. And our guys, they had the fumble Ruski, right? They lived to play another down. I mean, guys, they gave up. They were in the red zone 3 times in the first half. They gave up 3 field goals. Like now, prior to last year, I told you, like I think they were 100 something in college football in red zone defense. Like they got to be. Like I haven't looked it up. They got to be in the top because they bend sometimes, but they don't break because they play every single snap. And you saw that even in the turning point of that game. Rutgers gets the ball, they're moving it, they're in territory, they do a pop pass, and it was there. Boom, Proctor makes the hit, right?
Jordan Hancock.
Yeah, Hancock got the pick INT, like turning point of the game. So our team's gonna score and put drives together, 100% they are, but they're not doing it a lot. And they're playing every single down. So when you have a defense that can do that, you don't always want to put them in bad positions, which we did. We had the fake punt, which that's communication. That can't happen. That was terrible. A turnover, short field, that's terrible. But they're always going to go out there and play that. So that's why ball security is such an emphasis, because you have a great defense. Just everybody talks about analytics. The analytics of me going 3 and out, but being able to punt the ball and put them inside the 20 and their opportunity to go score from that is like 25% or even less. But you then equate that to against our defense, it's probably less than that. So that's why, right, the emphasis is on ball security. So that's one thing they got to get out of it. 2, I think continuing the run blocking and identity as to what we do, zone, gap, whatever, and that continuity on the offensive line is paramount. And so being able to every single week in and week out, continue to get better for that game is critical. So that's what has to, I would like to see. We have not seen a complete Ohio State game yet. I'm talking all phases.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, I think every game they put it there. Like they've laid it out there. They've done their part in every single football game. Offensively and special teams, we have not. So I think over the next 2 weeks, what I would be looking for would be 2 complete, efficient football games from all sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would like to see. I think that allows you to carry that right there carries over into the Michigan game, because we know what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to rushing the football, stopping the run, and turnovers. Now, that stopping the run and rushing the football, Rutgers had, they have 200 something yards. They also had 20 plays more, and that's what they did. But that's what they do. But you still won the game even by losing the turnover battle. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And even after losing the rushing battle. But why? Well, your defense held them to field goals and not touchdowns. So right. that is critical, especially when you have an offense with this type of weapons that you can score. You can also score very quickly. So that's what I'm saying. Like those things carry over for the Michigan game, especially when it's on the road at Michigan, with all the turmoil and stuff that has been going on. You also mentioned something in that question. How much is the coaching staff looking ahead? Well, the answer is you better not be looking ahead, because winning a game in college football is difficult regardless of who you're playing. And you look at this Michigan State team. I mean, guys, they're 3-6, but they just lost. They just snapped, what was it, like a 6-game losing streak by beating Nebraska, which I didn't think they were going to beat Nebraska, but they did. You know? So, like, to me, you know, points for their offense is terrible. Points against, they gave up almost 28 point. Like, beat the crap out these dudes. That's what you should do. You know what I mean? And that beat the crap out of these dudes on primetime television. They're 3-6. Make sure that they know that they're 3-7.
Yeah. So who are going to be the difference makers in that, Schlegs?
Kyle McCord. You know, Kyle McCord is a difference maker. I mean, make good decisions. Don't turn the ball over, and get the ball to your playmakers. I mean, it's just, listen, for us, it's the same people every single week. I think the offensive line. Listen, it's not Travion. He will be a difference maker, because when you put the ball in his hands, he's special. Mm-hmm. But you know, and here's the other thing: coaching staff throughout the week. Like, there has been so much drama, and so much, like, there are no facts in this entire thing that's going down. All right.
Well, there are facts.
Well, no. But like, there's things about Ryan and the PI. There's things about, like, now there's about other teams cooperating with signs for Michigan and all this stuff. And then you have Michigan in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And you got a 2-game homestand. Again, Kobe said this, and I'm paraphrasing, okay? But elite people do elite things. You can't be elite in 1 week and then turn it off, and then try to be elite in another week. It's every single day, right? And as a student athlete, it's, you know, and how I look at it, man, be elite in your faith, be elite in your family. So you better be an elite son, better call your mama, check on things, right? You better be elite in school. And again, I don't care if you go to online school or whatever, but you get out what you put out. So go be freaking elite in it. Like, you can't be a soft student and then I say that, right, and then be an elite football player. Well, we've seen that happen. But to me, it's a life skill that you're trying to instill in these guys, right? So be elite in school, be elite in football, be elite in your recovery, be an elite teammate, like, and all those things create habits. And then now, next thing you know, you're just elite in all those things. That's how I always take it, right? So control what you can control, and that's being elite in those areas. So sometimes you got to wrangle them in and lock these 18 and 22-year-olds in to, like, accomplishing the mission, as, like, this is the mission, this is everything about. And you make this game as big as you made the Penn State game and the Wisconsin game. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they got to be. You know, like, that's on you as the leaders of the program, along with the captains, making sure that they are locked in and focused. I would say, like, that's kind of a difference maker when you're looking at a night game versus a 3-6 Michigan State team, because the last thing you want to do is go out there and lay an egg. and you beat them by 3. Like, that would be freaking terrible.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the end of the world, right? Because you're still there. You still control your own destiny, but that's not going to build you up to go play Minnesota. And that's not going to build you up to go play Michigan. It's going to build you up to go play Michigan. It's complementary football and putting a complete game together. And that's what I want to see.
Well, the Buckeyes have been stacking up those elite weeks one after the other. They've got 9 wins already in the bank. They're looking for number 10 on Saturday night in prime time in those gray unis. They're not throwbacks. They're alternates. Schlegs got me corrected because he's the one who knows all the fashion insight. He is the icon. I am just Austin Ward. We appreciate Schlegs jumping on with us again for the podcast daily on a Thursday. We'll talk to y'all later.